Rich Hoffman here. I have to answer a public question because I keep getting asked, and it's happening very often now, and I have to kind of give a unified answer to everybody at the same time. So, talking about the Lakota School Board, northern suburb of Cincinnati, just outside the 275 loop, where I live, there's like 3 seats coming up on the school board, and I've been asked by a lot of people to sort of lead that effort to placing those 3 seats with conservatives, and they wanted me to run, and my name keeps coming up in this thing, and I just have to say, and I don't want to come across squishy, I think the people who should be running for those positions should be people who want to actually do the job. My position on public education is to scrap it, to rebuild it under the new terms of a much more competitive model. I think that like schools like Lakota schools, I think the efforts that need to happen is you got to distance why people move to a neighborhood to be near what they consider a good school, and that real estate values are attached to it. Now that's the model that's been built for a century, and to change it overnight isn't going to happen, but it's a bit of a gradual thing that's happened. Going back years, decades, we're a lot different now than we were then, and another 10 years we're going to be a lot different then than we are now. And I think the competitive model that Vivek Ramaswamy is talking about in Ohio is the way to go. But that transition is going to be very, very, very painful for people who are in this school system. And one thing with me and anybody who works with me, I like to be completely in charge. I'm not a committee kind of person. And when everyone approaches me about running for all these different offices, I look at those offices as public services, and I'm not exactly a public servant kind of person. But I do respect it, and I like working with people who want to be involved in that kind of thing and who want to give their time. But I'm not one of them. I don't. When you think about the amount of time, you add the hours up of how long it takes to do these things. I don't have it in my schedule, and that's not a cop out to say, I'm too good to do it. And other people should do it. There's people who really care about these things, and you got to put in 40, 50 hours a week on top of whatever it is you do for a living and everything to do the job correctly. And I've been to several school board events, and they're just a waste of time. And the people in them are really, I consider, they're garbage people. They're not very good, high quality people. But then on the other side, if good people don't run and go confront them and fight them on the school board, then you end up with those kinds of people running your school board and spending your money. But I've been a part of trying to put people on the school board that were very conservative, only to have them be run off by the radical union people and the supporters of them that were on the school board. And I don't have a whole lot of interest in sitting around arguing with those kinds of people because I don't have the time for it in my life, because I have a lot of things I do. I have so many interests and so many things I do. I would not be happy to only do that one thing. So my preference would be to use what I'm good at, and that's building teams and going out and finding people who do like to do these things and putting them in the right positions. It's kind of like, I do that on many endeavors across many fields that are out there, education just being one of them. My preferred way of dealing with things in life is to touch the hearts of several thousand people, and out of those several thousand people, to find the right people to do all these right jobs with the specificity it takes to do them. So when I say I don't want to run for the school board, it's because the work it takes to go into it, I really don't have time to do for a system I don't really like. And I think it's going to be massively overhauled in the future. But what's going to be needed of the skills of the school board members are the way to sell a district to other competing districts and to lure people to your school as opposed to other schools, because the money will then follow the kids on a merit-based system, which is where it's all headed. That's why Trump's decentralizing the Department of Education. And while it goes through all the lawsuits and the teachers unions go out and scream and cry for more money from the federal government and want sustenance for unearned merit, and they want to call themselves the best in the world when the test results show that they're nothing like it, and the product that you put on and it shows in the kids has put America way into the line as far as global competition. You don't get to have a participation trophy. You got to actually be good to be good, and that's what we're looking for. And you need a school board that's going to go fight for that. So yeah, we need 3 good school board members who want to go out there and work very hard at it. And yeah, I would support helping wherever I could in that regard. And as far as me being in it, leading it, being on there to fight with them every night, and to do the kind of shenanigans that I think the people asking me to do it would hope, because obviously to fix something, sometimes you got to destroy something, you got to tear it down in the garbage and rebuild it in a good way. And I think it's a tightrope to walk to do that and still maintain the value of the property values of your community, because you got to separate the zip code funding for the school from the real estate of the people who buy and invest in communities. And my argument is that the area of Lakota schools, Butler County where I live, is such a good place to live that people will live there regardless of what's going on with the school. Most people who live in Butler County don't have kids in the school district. Their kids are near the end of it, and they're going to invest because it's a good place to live, and they want to be near the things that make it a valuable place. The schools need to be separated from that task, and that has to happen in politics. And you have to have characters that can go out there and sell that frontier needed to get people to start understanding how that process works, because it's going to happen regardless, and the most successful community is going to be those who can best sell those changing circumstances to the population. But to maintain as it is, it's going to be a bloody couple of years. There's going to be a lot of fisticuffs, and people thought that all the antics with Darby Bodie was hard. You really haven't seen anything yet, because the amount of money that is going to be to drive that cost per pupil down is going to be dictated by the state and a competitive model, and that's not how the unions work, and they're not going to like it, and they're going to make it hard. So all these apologists that go and get on the school boards to overload it so they get yes votes, which is what happens. That's the kind of fight that you have to deal with, and it's going to be hard and bloody for anybody who's involved in it. And I encourage people to do it. Why am I not doing it? If I could say to other people, why don't you do it? I don't want to do it. I think it comes down to finding the right skills applied to make this thing work, and find the right people who want to do these jobs and put them in place to do them. And then you have to have leadership that clears out the decks so that it can happen. It takes a lot of different people to be good at a lot of different things. But when it comes to being on the school board, what it takes is work. It takes people who want to sit and read all those amendments, who want to do all the little bits of work and understand how the funding works, what it does for the kids, and what education is actually producing. And my position on it is we should have never done the Dewey system. We should have never done the kind of top-down education models that are out there. It should be activity-based education, learn through apprenticeships and real skills applications. Certainly not what we have today, where you basically have those who don't know how to do things teaching, because they're afraid of the world, and they're not really good at anything in the world but talking to other people and hiding the fact that they couldn't make it in the private sector. And so you get the bottom feeders who actually teach the professions, and then they expect to get paid huge amounts of money for being really a bottom feeder, and that's what the union through collective bargaining guarantees. And to go and reform that system and make your school district more competitive than other school districts means you have to identify what those merit-based activities are, and then you have to go out and sell them a lot. I predict that it's going to take someone who's on these school board meetings that do these meetings all the time and want to be a member. It's going to take more than 65, 70 hours a week of commitment to pull it off, to make it so that you can make a good competitive school, because it's going to take that kind of work. And then you got to fight the people who are already on the school boards who aren't very effective and are basically apologists for the union so they can sit around eating Fritos all day and watching Netflix, because that's essentially what they're fighting for. They want to get paid top premium dollars for doing very little. And once all these things change, the Department of Education gets dismantled the way it's going to, and the money stops flowing that way, and all these marquee birds start going up to Columbus and demanding that the state of Ohio covers the difference in allocation funding. Well, you're going to have a governor like Vivek Ramaswamy who's going to say, well, what can you do on paper to show me that you deserve the money? Because the per pupil cost can't be $16,000. You need to get it down to 8 or 7. You need to increase your output and decrease how much you're throwing at it as far as money. And that's not a model that unions are able to deal with. And it's going to take special kinds of school board members who can go out and sell it and talk it in a unique way so that the rest of the community can understand what the heck's happening and why they should invest in that particular school, because the money's attached to kids and you want the kids to come to school because it's a better school. So you gotta go have that fight, and that's gonna be tough, and it's gonna take a special kind of person. And we're on the lookout for those kinds of people. And with all that in mind, I've been asked several times a week for a few months now, but it's getting more and more inundated with those types of comments. Why not me? Why don't I lead it? Because it's going to take a lot more hours in the week than I have to give to it. It's not like you can be a satellite school board member and just kind of show up and fly in, do a couple things, and fly out, make some media, get some quotes in the paper, and think it's all going to work out. No, you're going to have to work this one. This is going to take some work. This is going to take a lot of effort, a lot of hours put in, a lot of love and commitment. I just don't feel it for this way of education right now in this point in time. It would be painful for me to do, but someone needs to do it. And I don't say no to anything, because the job has to get done. But I think it'd be better for the system if people who really liked it would do it. So I'm not saying no or yes or anything, but my ambiguity is along the lines of, I think it'd be better to have a good team working this thing than to approach it the way you traditionally work these things as in school boards. And again, you got to have a 3-2 majority, and that 3 has to stick together. You can't get caught up in these political games. You can't break ranks, because it's enough things that are working on the situation in the background to scare everybody off, which is what's happened before. The first thing they do is they find somebody on the school board they can attack, and then try to pit the other ones against them. And then that's how they preserve their system. Those kinds of games, I personally don't have a whole lot of patience for. I'm used to being in charge of everything I do. I'm used to being the solitary voice, not some consensus-driven diatribe where you sit around and you hear one vote out of 5. I'm not real excited about that kind of system at all. I like to be the one who says, this is what we're doing, and shut up and go do it. So it would be very hard for me to do that, but if nobody else does it, I probably would think about it. So we'll see how it goes, but that's my feelings on it. And that's why I haven't said, oh, sure, I'll run and do it. Warning to anybody thinking about doing it, you really got to get into it and do it right. You have to put the time and energy, and I think that energy is going to require about 70 hours a week of work, and you got to love it, and you got to be willing to go fight a lot of perilous characters, because the change state's going to be difficult. It's not going to be a walk down Gravy Street. It's going to be about 4, 5, 6 years of working with Governor Ramaswamy very directly to create a completely different system in Ohio that the teacher unions are going to fight every step of the way, to their own detriment, because they're not going to win in the end, because the money's not going to be there. They're going to fight for nothing, but they're going to make everybody who's in their way miserable in the process, and you better enjoy it, because that's what it's going to take. It's just on fire. Anyway, it's Rich Hoffman here. Share, subscribe, make tomorrow a better day. If you haven't read my book, The Gunfighter's Guide to Business, I think you love it. You'll love it. Anyway, have a good day, and see you later.